So there's something about, the responsible journalism and the way that we're making crime into entertainment. And I wonder if you could just speak to that and what it means and perhaps the damage it does and how you counterbalance that.
It is an important topic to get into the discourse of, because in my eyes, what irresponsible journalism does is, instead of it basically alters all the central themes there are. If I am watching something which is in the space of true crime, let's say I am watching a true crime drama which is based off of a real person, I want the central themes to be how the legal institution was, how the institution acted, about the victims, their perspective. But what sensationalism in this space does is it basically undermines all of that, and the central themes only revolve around the serial killer, their psychology, their motives. And I just wanted to get into the space because I felt like there was a need of responsible crime journalism platforms in the space. That is what we do.
Thank you. And then I noticed on Crime Ledger, one of the topics that you focused on is Ted Bundy. And maybe you could talk a little bit about, some of the sort of dramatizations and then how you are, sort of addressing that from the point of view of real reporting.
Well, first I talked about Ted Bundy on my previous blog about a couple of years back. And all of the crime dramas that have been made on him, all of them basically focused on him as a person and how his time in court proceedings. Well, there's a very famous drama for the same, which basically spans over his time in the legal proceedings when he was getting convicted, and everything which followed after. When I was taking that topic, I wrote it in such a way that it feels. I only took exact verbatims. Only thing I took everything pertinent. I did not compromise on the factual side of things, but I also did not compromise on the writing of it. And I felt like the way media sensationalized him as sort of Ted Bundy is notorious for being a quote unquote playboy and all of this. I think instead of marketing that, you should focus on how bad as a person he was and how twisted his mentality was and how many lives he actually affected. When you sort of delve into his aspects of how he lured people, how he actually killed them, I think you're changing the central themes. So that is what I basically did not fall for when I discovered him in my personal theories.
Right. So what if I've understood you? There are dramatizations that perhaps even sort of, could I even go as far as say romanticize his kind of charismatic side, but then at a real cost to talking about the harm, the injury, loss or harm, how many people were actually affected, what the real world consequences were of his actions.
Yes, I think you rightly followed.
Yeah. So how did you develop this interest? I mean, how did you, not specifically Ted Bundy, but this interest in criminology? Because I have to say, I don't think I've ever met a 16-year-old criminologist. And if I have, certainly nobody that has, piqued my curiosity in the way that you have around, clearly some kind of life calling or something. So talk me through how you got interested.
Not exactly a life calling, more of a situational calling, I'd say. And I don't think I'd call myself a full-fledged criminologist, considering that I'm still learning while I'm writing. But yes, about how this idea occurred to me, what happened was a couple of years back, I remember, I think I spoke to you about this before, the drama on Jeffrey Dahmer came to Netflix. And one of my friends suggested me to watch it. And when we got to the end of it, I've always been very inquisitive with the way I think. I like to think, and that's what I do in my free time mostly. So after we were done watching that, he asked me something which piqued my curiosity about the same. He asked me, do you think what happened to him was right? Because he finally found God. He finally was improving as a person, which to me feels very weird to say. And even despite all of this, what did he get in the end? What was the result of his goodness? He was killed by another inmate. So, and that made me think that if irresponsible crime journalism can literally alter with someone's brain to the point where they start sympathizing with a person like Jeffrey Dahmer. So I think I just set out on a journey to find out that how journalism can be done in a way where it feels responsible, it feels mature, it feels factual, it feels informative, all while being interesting to consume.